This is Frontier Opening Bell, the 11th of May. It's a Thursday. Thank you, everyone, for watching the show. Let's get started. Taking you through, as always, a couple of the markets on the African continent. A look at Wednesday's midweek trading. The Nigerian market was down by about 0.75%. We saw a sell down in some big names such as Boa Cement, the second largest cement maker in the country. Then you've got the BRVM holding the upper end to get across to 200 reading on the composite on Tuesday, fell back by 0.42%, couldn't regain that psychological reading for the Ivorian market. The shares of Societe Generale and Bank of Africa, Burkina Faso, and a few other big names actually led the BRVM back below the 200 level on Wednesday. The GGH's market shook off Tuesday's negative finishing line to rise about almost 1% at about 17,484. The Nairobi stock market is falling and is down very sharply since the start of the year. So speak, the NSE All-Share Index is holding just around 100.5 on Wednesday, down by 1.56%, a massive sell down today. We got to the news early today of Safaricom. PLC's numbers full year for the year ended March 2023, reporting a very marginal growth in terms of numbers. We're reporting a couple of other line items that everyone's swarming about right now. Safaricom says his earnings, according to a press statement done earlier today by top officials of the company, including Peter Ndegwa, the CEO, talked about the tough operating environment in the Kenya's political economic space for last year, including the environment, the drought, and every other problem that the country went through. And those issues are impacted on Safaricom's earnings. In the meantime, Safaricom's got good news from Ethiopia, where its new standalone subsidiary company in Ethiopia has gotten a license from the central bank or the Bank of Ethiopia to operate mobile money business. That should come into effect in the next couple of minutes. So quite a lot of news earnings today. The South Africa stock market was flashing some 7,775. Let's just go on to East Africa. Look at some of the top stories. I was just talking about Safaricom earnings today. We've got a couple of earnings also coming through from East Africa, including Standard Chartered of Kenya as well. In the meantime, Kenya's net foreign assets was down by about 52% by the end of February, while the World Bank board of directors, the group board of directors are meeting on May the 26th, in just about 2 weeks from now, to approve $1 billion loan support to Kenya. On the one hand, while Kenya is still holding talks with the International Monetary Fund for another standby funding facility, the administration of President Ruto is looking for funding support, especially in foreign currency, left, right, and center. The Standard Chartered sets about 6.5% rate on its mobile lending, while in Uganda, MTN's first quarter shows data subscription up by 25%, fintech subscription up by 14%. The earnings season for the full year, those who are reporting through the last financial year and the first quarter of this year, still running through a number of our markets. Let's step into West Africa and look at some of the big stories that we're following at this time as we get towards the end of the current market week. Dangote Cement, Nigeria's and Pan-Africa's largest cement maker, yesterday says he's Series 4 and 5, 44 and 46 billion naira. Commercial paper or short-term borrowings were listed on FMDQ Securities Exchange. That will be used to fund its local operations and expand activities as well. Airtel Africa today releasing its full year 2022 earnings, Thursday the 11th. The earnings from Airtel Africa showing a couple of FX losses that Airtel Africa reported, about $28 million loss, FX loss in Nigeria, and about $36 million that Airtel Africa says its operation suffered from Malawi, Zambia, Kenya, as well as one other country in East Africa. The earnings per share, however, came in a little bit decent for Airtel Africa. You can read up the full earnings out there. Airtel Africa listed on both Lagos and London exchanges. The Ghana's reporting headline, inflation down to 41% in the month of April, down from about 46% in the month of March because the cost of transportation and food easing in the West African country, but the macroeconomic numbers are not looking too good yet for Ghana's, one of Africa's resource-based economy in cocoa, mineral resource, and as well as crude oil and also. Then you got about the whole issue around whether the Bank of Ghana, the central bank, will raise interest rate or lower interest rate at its next meeting, as it's seen a third month of steady decline in inflation since we started the new year. Let's get to look at the cedi, which Fitch Solutions says is likely to end this year at about 12.4 against the US dollar. But there's a whole lot still around how the Ghanaian cedi, which has been recovering in the month of March, is trying to hold on to those gains without falling back very sharply against the American greenback. The S&P global ratings maintained Benin Republic's rating at B+, and so the outlook for the small West Africa French-speaking country next to Nigeria is stable. And Cote d'Ivoire says it's raking about 77 billion CFA franc from the West Africa Monetary Union financial markets. That's your briefing on West Africa. Let's touch on Southern Africa's space. And Signia CEO says South Africa has crossed the line into a failed state and needs to hold general elections as quickly as possible. Signia CEO, she's the latest in the line of big CEOs of big South African companies, speaking directly to the government of President Ramaphosa, asking for very urgent economic reforms to prevent South Africa from falling into a failed state. We've heard similar comments from the CEOs at MTN Group in South Africa. The rand yesterday hit one of its worst level, 1881 on the US dollar. That's the first since April of 2020. The rand fell yesterday against the dollar, the pound, and the euro. And FSCA in South Africa has fined JP Market South Africa about 100,000 rand for allegations that the FX trading company breached financial laws in South Africa. And the IMF has told Zimbabwe's Reserve Bank to forget this gold-backed token, a cryptocurrency that's been floated, and asked the central bank to focus more on freeing up the exchange rate. What the Zimbabweans try to do is to provide other options of using a currency supporting the Zimbabwe dollar. So it's rolled out what's called the gold coins. Then you've got a whole new gold coin cryptocurrency, which is also big. So the whole engineering, the IMF says, just stop it and focus on freeing up the exchange rate to allow the economy and the currency be a little bit more steady. And as we speak today, the Zambian president, Hichilema, has touched down in France and is heading to London for the Zambian investment conference, where he's meeting other big names in the world to talk about the credit position of Zambia, one of Southern Africa's biggest economies. Keep that in mind. Let's touch on with North Africa, where it all started. With Egypt, raising expected budget deficit to about 6.9% for its full year 2023-2024, while the country's annual urban inflation slows to 30.6% in April against 32.7% in the prior month of March. But how the Egyptian central bank will decide on its next interest rate is anyone's guess. Economists are looking at whether the central bank in Cairo will tinker with its interest rate, looking to support the Egyptian pound and hold inflation very steady. Morocco's ranking in mining attractiveness index dropped 15 places last year, while the country and the UK have signed a cooperative framework on climate action as well as clean energy. And France is willing to support Tunisia in its negotiations with the International Monetary Fund. President Said of Tunisia needs all help he can get to get through with the IMF. The last we heard from the Washington-based IMF was that a deal will soon be on the table to support the North Africa's big economy, that's Tunisia. And that's about it for today. On your Frontier Opening Bell, we've got a whole lot more coming tomorrow, Friday, on the show. Don't forget to watch this show again on our website, www.africareports.com. Go on our YouTube. You can subscribe. It's free. And follow us on all social media platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as Instagram. I am Bosin Namafaye. Bye for now.